All right, guys. So if you watch my earlier video about the infrastructure bill that the McConnell-led GOP signed up for along with the Democrats, I was telling you guys that politics is a game, right? That's essentially what it is. Now, it's a game with people's lives, and that's not necessarily a good thing, right? It's not one of those things that I endorse, even though I do enjoy analyzing the game politics. I do realize it is a game with people's lives, and sometimes these politicians play games with people's lives, and obviously that's not good, right? Not something that I endorse. Now, this little moment right here with Cory Booker and Senator Tommy Tuberville kind of shows exactly what I'm telling you guys in regards to how these politicians really think that this is a game. Because during the budget resolution process, which is basically a process that the Senate uses in order to get started on the budget reconciliation process, the process that they're going to use to try to pass this $3.5 trillion Biden's family's plan that I really don't know actually really has a real chance of getting past Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema, but they're going to try anyways. They're going to try to pass it. And during this process, they do this thing called Vote-A-Rama, in which basically in the middle of the night, they start proposing amendments, right, one by one, and they vote on them. And Tommy Tuberville, the Republican senator from Alabama, basically proposed an amendment, Amendment 3113, which would, quote, establish a deficit-neutral reserve fund relating to decreasing federal funding for local jurisdictions that defund the police. So essentially, what he's proposing is that the federal government is not going to try to make up for local jurisdictions that choose to defund the police. Okay, that's what the amendment essentially does. Now, he proposed this amendment, and I want you guys to watch the desperate reaction from Democrat New Jersey Senator Cory Booker in response to this bill against defunding the police. Take a look.
Thank you very much. Believe it or not, people back home actually listen sometimes to what we say here. To some local leaders across the country, the far left rally cry of defund the police is not just a DC rhetoric, they're actually acting on it. More than 80% of law enforcement in America is conducted by state and local police departments. 80%. These men and women are community heroes. We should invest in all of them. But local leaders across the country have decided the woke thing to do is cancel their city's police force. My amendment is pretty simple. If your city council wants to defund their police, don't expect the federal government to make up the difference. The American taxpayers in Alabama have to pick up the tab for local leaders in Oregon and Minnesota who value the woke defund the police movement over their own community safety. I call on my colleagues to support our law enforcement by voting yes for this amendment. Opposing my amendment is a vote in support of defunding the police and against the men and women in blue.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Madam President.
Senator from New Jersey.
I am so excited. This is perhaps the highlight of this long and painful and torturous night. This is a gift. If it wasn't complete abdication of Senate procedures and esteem, I would walk over there and hug my colleague from Alabama. And I will tell you right now, thank God, because there's some people who have said that they're members of this deliberative body that want to defund the police, to my horror. And now this senator has given us the gift that finally, once and for all, we can put to bed this scurrilous accusation that somebody in this great esteemed body would want to defund the police. So let all of us, 100 people, not walk, but sashay down there and vote for this amendment and put to rest the lies. And I am sure I will see no political ads attacking anybody here over defund the police. And I would ask unanimous consent to add something else to this obvious bill. Can we add also that every senator here wants to defund the police, believes in God, country, and apple pie? Thank you.
Questions on the amendment.
The question is on the amendment.
All right, guys. So I try to tell you, yeah, these people think politics is a game. Okay, because Cory Booker thought he had a gotcha moment, right? He thought he had a moment where he could say, look, guys, we're against defunding the police. Okay? So essentially, all 99 senators voted in favor of Tommy Tuberville's amendment, right? So it's actually made it into the final Senate budget resolution package, okay? So that amendment is actually there. And the Democrats try to see this as a win because they are scared shitless, right? I kid you not. They're scared shitless of the defund the police narrative because they have people like AOC and Cory Bush and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and all the woke revolutionaries on the left that have came out and told us that we must defund the police, right? And they've doubled and tripled down on that. And the Democrats are desperately trying to run away from this narrative. And Cory Booker, for as goofy and wacky as he is, thought that this was a clever way to try to push back against that narrative, right? You notice how he added the part about God, country, and apple pie, right? He's trying to mock Republicans, okay? He's trying to mock conservatives, right? And again, it's just hilarious. But what Cory Booker doesn't realize is that most of these police budgets across the country, they're all locally funded, right? Local taxpayer funded. So that's not going to stop local communities from defunding the police if that's something they really want to do, right? It basically just says that, well, you're just not going to get federal government help. You can't expect the federal government to make up for you defunding the police, right? But again, that doesn't absolve the Democrats of their rhetoric because their rhetoric, even though they haven't really done anything at the federal level in regarding to defunding the police, what it really matters is their rhetoric trickles down to local and state politicians, right? That's what's really happening. There are a lot of young woke revolutionaries on city councils across the country that believe in defunding the police. That's what the real issue is at. The issue is not in Congress, okay? Congress doesn't have that much to do with local police. Although, as of 2016, about 22% of police funding came from the federal government, which I don't necessarily believe is a good thing because they use that funding as a tool to try to enact certain reforms and to control police locally, right? You get hooked on that government teat, right? That's just kind of what happens, right? But the issue at hand here, the issue really is the local politicians in the local community and where they're getting their ideas from, and the pressure to defund the police is from people like AOC, Ilhan Omar, Cory Bush, Rashida Tlaib. Unless you're calling out those people directly on their rhetoric, you're not against defund the police, right? You can't say you're against it if you don't call out your colleagues in your party that is pushing for this, because what they're saying, their rhetoric, it trickles down and influences local politics. That's how it really happens. And see, this is why I try to tell y'all, these politicians think it's a game. It's a show for them, right? Let's show the world that we don't want to defund the police. That it's a lie. If a Republican runs an ad saying we want to defund the police, it's a lie because we all voted for Tommy Tuberville's anti-defund the police bill. When what really matters is the rhetoric, right? The rhetoric is what really matters because it influences local politicians who actually have the power to do that, right? But see, Cory Booker thinks that you're too stupid to understand that. He thinks you're too dumb to understand that nuance, right? He thinks that just because he went out there and he made a show, he thinks that now all of a sudden that is made it so it's impossible to say the Democrats want to defund the police. But again, unless you rein in the loose cannons in y'all party, you can't get away from it, right? But like I said, guys, I mean, this whole stunt by Cory Booker really shows you how desperate the Democrats are in regards to changing that narrative, right? That's why they went out there and kissed the ass of the Capitol police officers, even though they don't really give a damn about police. That's why they went out there and did that, because they're trying to change the narrative, right? You notice how they did that, but they have nothing to say about the police officer that was shot and killed in Chicago. Nothing to say about that. Haven't mentioned it whatsoever. I haven't heard one mention about that from any politician in the Democrat Party, right? I haven't heard anything about the epidemic of police officers being killed across the country, right? Haven't heard anything about it from Democrats, but I've heard a whole lot about the Capitol Police, right? I've heard a whole lot about them. Haven't heard anything about any other police officers, See, again, this is the game that they try to play. They think you're stupid. They think you don't know any better. And Cory Booker here is really setting an example for how dumb he thinks that his constituents are. He really is. So that clown show from Cory Booker was really, really, really funny to me. But he was not fooling me, right? He's not fooling anybody. He's just really making a fool of himself. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.